So, Dorothy, what you have accomplished and what you've shared is truly amazing. And I can say this comfortably because I've learned something in my career that won't shock most of you, and that is that it's hard to be a woman sometimes. It's just flat out hard. But I've been able to work through a lot of the obstacles that I've encountered by sorting the difficulties really into two buckets. So the first bucket is the external environment, the generation in which we're living, the things around us that make it hard. So that's kind of the culturally inflicted bucket, if you will. And the second bucket is the internal way in which we're hard on ourselves. So the self-inflicted bucket. I work in a company and an industry that can be particularly difficult at times. I'm a partner at a consulting firm in Bozeman, the lone female partnered with 5 gentlemen. And while my partners are really fantastic feminists, there are certainly still challenges I face that they just don't. So what we do is we help senior executives learn from one another. So we work with about 400 of the Fortune 500. And for example, the CEO of UPS has a lot to learn from the CEO of Walmart. The CFO of GE can learn from J&J, and so on. So that's what we do. In a nutshell, we help facilitate best practices among these executives. There's certainly days when I have to pinch myself because we get to interact with really such fantastic people. And then there are days when things kind of turn around and pinch me. So for example, not too long ago, I was on the phone with the CEO of a really big retail company. We were trying to clear up some confusion that had occurred between our 2 offices. It was really kind of a light touch misunderstanding, something easily fixed. Instead of talking through it with me, he was clearly unhappy to be speaking with a woman and proceeded to give me an expletive-laced description of where I could stick my company. This is the kindest way to refer to our conversation. It was actually terribly, terribly graphic. It was my own sort of Megyn Kelly moment, if you will. The CEO just refused to speak to me like an adult over something that was really so simple, even though he conversed with one of my male partners just fine a couple of hours later. So that's an example that falls into the first bucket. That's the culturally or environmentally inflicted difficulty. It was really just something out of my hands, part of the external environment that I just couldn't change. So this first bucket that I've been talking about, it's just going to take some time to change. It takes years of people like Dorothy, paving the way for this next generation, and all of us slowly chipping away at these cultural norms. So the good news, after all of this, the good news is that the second bucket that I mentioned is the internal, the self-inflicted bucket. And this is one where I believe we have more control. We can change that today. I'll share a story about the first time I was going to interview a Google executive. He's a very senior business executive, a direct report to the CEO. I could hardly sleep the night before. I was so excited. Side note, I'm a bit of a business nerd, so this excitement made complete sense in my mind. But anyways, I was so looking forward to him just wowing me with all of his thoughts and ideas. I thought that anyone senior at Google has just got to be incredible. And what I learned while I was interviewing him is that he's actually quite nice. In fact, he's a normal person. He has challenges and concerns too. He has a lot of questions, but no answers. He's not coming up with world-changing ideas on a daily basis. He's struggling to figure out his day-to-day as well. So sure, some of the executives I've encountered, they're very smart or very interesting, but I've learned that on the whole, they're just very normal people doing extraordinary things with great confidence. So I'm going to say that part one more time. They're normal people doing extraordinary things with great confidence. So where does that leave us? I know we're normal. None of us are reality TV celebrities, and we have extraordinary ideas. We can do extraordinary things. We've got the next biggest company in Montana over here, the next New York Times best-selling authors probably up on the deck. We've got the next big thing in the App Store right here with us. So we're normal, and we're capable of extraordinary things, but oftentimes the missing piece is that we just lack confidence. And this isn't my opinion. There are statistics and studies, years of research that tell us that we as women have a shortage of confidence. So there was a research study conducted by 2 psychologists, one from Cornell and one from Washington State University, where they actually studied the relationship between female confidence and competence. The study was that they gave male and female college students a quiz on scientific reasoning. And the subjects had to rate their confidence levels. So instead of getting into the weeds and the decimal points of the research, I'll just give you my synopsis. So before the quiz, both men and women had to give their confidence level a rating. They had to put a number to it. How good do you feel? The men reported, I think I got this. I'm pretty smart. I think I'll do well. Again, this is my own verbal interpretation of the numbers that related to the data. The women, whose number was lower, said, well, I don't know. I'm not sure how well I'll do. After taking the quiz, everyone was again asked to rate their confidence level. How well do you think you did? And the men said, yeah, that was hard, but I think I still pretty much nailed it. Their number was actually higher. The women said, ugh, I bombed that. I did so terribly. Ugh. And their number was lower. And then they got the results. The men, as it turns out, actually did pretty well. Nice job, men. They scored about 11% higher than predicted. The women, however, scored 30% higher than they had predicted. 30% higher. So the women in the study, all college-educated, smart women, had not given themselves nearly enough credit. They lacked confidence before, during, and after the study, but ultimately way outperformed their expectations. So I'm sharing this study because I want each of us to be a little bit bothered by it. Whether it's internal forces or external, bucket 1 or bucket 2, whatever it is, we're not giving ourselves enough credit, and therefore we have less confidence. And I'm telling you that my experience says it's unwarranted. So we hear a lot about equal pay for equal work, as Jen mentioned. I want us to think about equal credit for equal work. We have a really unique advantage in Montana, and that is we actually support each other. We're not all climbing over one another in New York City, trying to get up the ladder faster than someone else, tearing others down in the process. We have this amazing community of women who want to support each other and help grow each other's businesses. The amount of awesomeness emanating from this group of women is really incredible. For the men in the crowd, I'm sure you were nervous to come tonight, and it's not because you weren't sure what to wear. So as Warren Buffett put it, and Sheryl Sandberg famously quoted in Lean In, one of the reasons for his great success was that he was only competing with half the population. Did you catch that? He has so much confidence in women, so much so that he's saying his success wouldn't be the same if we had to compete against more women. So my final charge is for us to stop being so hard on ourselves. We have enough forces weighing us down in our culture, but let's quit making the second bucket heavy on ourselves too. Let's continue to build each other up. We are amazing, talented, fantastic women. Let's find our confidence, start that business, develop that app, write that book, run for office. Know that Warren Buffett believes in you, and the people sitting around you, the person sitting next to you believes in you, and everyone in this room believes in you. I hope you believe in you too. Thank you.